behaviors that we have that don't align to that vision of ourself, that who we want to be, and we cut them out. And now we are the person that is worthy of that ideal partner. Do you sort of get it? So it's a two-way street, that while I'm looking for what I want, I am also becoming who I want. And that's the important thing, because if we only ever look for what we want and we don't work on us and become who we want to be, every time we get the ball, every time we meet someone that we, think is a soulmate or an ideal partner, well, we're never going to feel good enough. So we're always going to feel insecure that I'm not good enough, this, that, the other. And then we're going to create insecurity within the relationship that breaks it down, and then probably justify to ourselves that, oh, well, it's just because I'm not good enough. Do you sort of get it? Whereas if you just do the work on yourself, like, you are good enough. Like, you don't really need to, But even so, like, even if you don't do the work on yourself, you are good enough. But if you have a lot of negative traits and a lot of toxic traits, people aren't going to want to be around you. For me, my number one thing is security. If I feel insecure around people, why the fuck would I want to be around people? Like, why would you want to be around people that make you feel less than or insecure? Like, it's pointless to do that. Like, because that only creates that feeling always being there, and then you're creating emotional attachment and meaning to that feeling from the environment and the outcomes that you're getting from the environment. So if you allow yourself, for example, if we're identifying our, manifesting our ideal partner, well, if I think this person is my ideal partner, but when I try and communicate and express to them, they make me feel insecure. And, and I feel like, all these different negative emotions, or I feel like not secure and all of that. Well, then one or two things is going to happen. Either they're making the relationship insecure, or I'm making the relationship insecure. If it's them making the relationship insecure, unfortunately, I didn't identify that security in a relationship was one of the primary things that I'm looking for in my identifiers. So do you sort of get that when we're looking for our ideal partner, every iteration and every attempt and every try that we have with someone gives us indicators of what we want and what we don't want. There are behaviors that we like, so good. We've identified that in them, but we didn't see these negative behaviors. So, some of them can be manipulation, game playing, all this different stuff. But in the next iteration, well, I'm not, like, if I see manipulation, game playing, all that, like, I'm not even going to bother. Like, it's just out the gate, it's gone. You know what I mean? So what we're doing is we're sort of creating a subconscious checklist of indicators that we look for, and we're just updating it every time we have success or failure. So if we have success and we find the person and everything's good and it's an amazing relationship, then job done. We've won. And if we find failure, why did it fail? How did it fail? What did we like? What didn't we like? Keep what you want, get rid of the rest, move on. Like, it's so simple. So, but what it allows us to do is it allows us over time to get a more comprehensive understanding of exactly what we're looking for, rather than avoid relationships and treat relationships as these mystical, magical things that we don't know how they come, they just show up. Like, we know how they come, it's just an agreement. Like, how does a friendship come? Do you want to be my friend? Yes. Okay, great. Like, it's an agreement. We agree that we are friends. I don't attack you, you don't attack me. Like, you know what I mean? So like if we treat relationships as a mystical, magical things that we don't understand and we can't comprehend, we have no control over it. So we're always blaming the other person, blaming the situation for why it broke down, never taking responsibility. And when we never take responsibility, like we never ever get around to looking at any of our flaws. And that's how we create egotism and narcissism. Because we keep entrenching in our belief and the illusion we create of ourselves, and we avoid seeing who we really are, and we hide that person away. But every time we try and open up from that mask or illusion that we've done, that negative person comes out uncontrollably. So you just got to understand the only way to deal with the negative fucking person within you is to fucking deal with it. You can avoid it all you want, but it doesn't do shit. Like, so if you're trying to manifest your ideal relationship, your ideal partner, but you're unwilling to deal with the negative shit within yourself, like, no offense, but you're up shit creek without a paddle. Like, you've got nothing. Every relationship you get into, no matter how perfect that other person is, no matter how aligned you are, you will tear it apart because you can't control what you don't understand. And if you avoid looking at negative aspects of yourself, you don't understand yourself. And then you lose control of yourself. And it's a funny thing because, like, in any moment of life, in any moment, you can have, do, or be whatever you want. You can meet anyone like that. But the majority of us act as if we have no idea what we want in life and hide away what we truly want because we're afraid of judgment from others. We hide away the partner we truly desire from others because we're afraid of others using that knowledge against us. Like, do you sort of get it? So like, it's sort of like in every relationship, well, who the fuck knows what's going to happen because I'm pretending like I don't know what I want. So I'm just out here fucking half closing my eyes, acting like I'm blind. Do you sort of get it? Like, if I'm walking around like this, acting like a dickhead through the street, I'm probably going to trip and fall at some point because I'm acting like a fucking dickhead. Like, I can pretend I'm blind all I want, you know what I mean? But to most people, I just look like a fucking dickhead. So that's the thing. I can pretend I'm a perfect person and create an illusion of my perfection and create all this bullshit and think that I've done all this work just because I've avoided everything and hidden it away. I'm the best cleaner in town. I know how to get everything into the corner of the cupboard. Like, do you sort of get it? Like, sweeping it under the rug. Like, you can live that way. You can do that if you want. But the problem is, every time you try and drop that illusion, every time you try and do anything outside of that, every time you put into a volatile situation, okay, you will show that negative side of you and it'll come out because that negative side of you is attached to the emotions. So your emotions become uncontrollable because you're avoiding dealing with the negative emotions. So if you have positive emotions, the negative emotions will always come after it. Do you sort of get it? Like, you're repressing the emotions by avoiding them. So if you allow any out, they all come out. That's why a lot of people who repress their emotions when they drink, as soon as they become intoxicated, their behavior usually goes down and they become highly emotional. You know what I mean? I had a dude the other day. He was funny. Mate, he was about that thick and he came out of the pub and I was on the phone chatting to someone and he started yelling at me, trying to have a go at me, and I turned around to him and I said, what could you do? A strong breeze would knock you out. Like, you're here trying to start a fight with me. Like, what could you do to me? Like, do you sort of get it? Like, he's not dealing with his own bullshit, and he's going out there trying to put his bullshit on other people because he thinks he's fucking this, that, and the other. Like, you can act that way all you want in life, and you can be that kind of a person, but on the wrong day, I'm going to just turn around and you know, put my hand through your head. I'm not going to punch you, I'm going to try and put my hand through your head. Do you sort of get it? Like, he doesn't understand. Like, it wouldn't have been a fun time for him. But that's the problem. When we avoid those negative aspects of ourselves, those behaviors and those behavioral traits are what manifest. If I avoid negative emotions around abandonment and my own insecurities, I create security within any relationship. I create insecurity within any relationship. Like, the problem is what I fear, I always subconsciously focus on. So if I'm afraid of things, if I'm afraid of aspects of myself, I always focus on them. And I always recreate those. And that's the problem with a lot of it, is if you're unwilling to look at yourself, if you're unwilling to do the work, if you're unwilling to accept that you are not perfect and realize that the bullshit mask you've created throughout life is an illusion that you have just created for yourself because you think it makes you, you know, protected and all this bullshit. Like, once you realize that if you want to drop that, you can. If you want to keep that on, you can. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter. Do you know what I mean? But you're never going to get what you want in life pretending to be someone else. Like, does it make sense? If I lie about who I am and I create an illusion of who I am and all this bullshit, I will attract people who are attracted to that illusion, not who I am. Do you get it? So if I'm doing this, I'm always going to be attracting relationships that are never quite right, and I have to be someone who I'm not to be in them. Do you get it? Or if we have the other side of it, where we develop codependency from our hurt and pain, okay, that's where we start justifying people's bullshit behavior. People can cheat and we just, oh, he really loved me, but, you know, he was drunk. Each to their own, like, you know what I mean? Like, every day of the week, if someone cheats, see ya. Like, wouldn't even break a sweat. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you're in a relationship for 20 years, like, fucking see ya. Like, don't even break a sweat. Like, they made their decision, let them stay in their decision and move on. Like, do you sort of get it? Like, we make these bullshit like things where we justify people's behavior and we let them get away with it without having to ever take responsibility or do the work. If you want people to change, see you later. Go fucking deal with it on your own. You'll get through it. Do you sort of get it? Like, if you've got a toxic ex in your life, or even a toxic friend, like, fuck that cunt off. If he wants to go or she wants to go and do the fucking work on themselves, let them. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares? Why justify putting up with toxic and negative behaviors just for a friendship? Just for, you know, an ex-lover, like, whatever it may be. Do you sort of get it? Like that's the other side. So we can be the one who is the toxic person, or we can be the one who puts up with the toxic relationship. Or the third option is, if there's a toxic relationship, we exit stage left and we let them go and we move on. Like, do you want to stay in toxic relationships, or do you want to move to positive relationships? If you want to move to a positive relationship, yes, you can stay in a toxic relationship and try and clean it up, But the problem is, okay, especially with toxic people, if you do anything for them, they will do nothing for themselves. Do you sort of get it? Like you gotta just leave them to the wolves. And if they wanna fight their way out of the wilderness, good, they get to live. If they don't want to fight their way out of the wilderness, the wolves get to eat tonight. Do you sort of get it? Like, if we coddle people, we get these adults who are immature and stunted in their growth because they've never had to do anything for themselves. They've never had to deal with their situations because people have always accepted and allowed it out of sympathy and sorrow. Do you sort of get it? Like, if someone's had a tough childhood, like, I feel for them, but at the end of the day, if you have a tough childhood and then you're putting trauma and pain onto someone else, like, I don't care how tough your childhood is, like, you're just fucking someone else's up. Do you sort of get it? Like, we can't accept that behaviour just because of this, and this. Like, at a certain point, we've got to look at behaviour unbiasedly and say, and this is a really good thing for measuring ourselves in relationships and things like that, is we've got to look at our behaviour unbiasedly and say, you know, is that acceptable behaviour? Is it unacceptable behaviour? Is that what a secure person would say? Is that what an insecure person would say? You know, is that what a friendly person would say? Is that what a, you know, all these different things. Like, we got to look at it unbiasedly, and we got to look at ourselves unbiasedly and how we're representing ourselves, so we can get a true picture of, you know, who we are, because we are who we present ourselves to be. So, for example, if I tell you that I love sports and I love sports cars and I love racing and all this bullshit, and I make up a whole story about it, like, I am that person who loves that. It doesn't mean I love it in the inside, but to everyone else, I'm the person who loves it. So I can pretend to love sports cars all I want, but if I don't personally give a fuck for them, like, what is the point? Do you sort of get it? So a lot of us in life go round and we create these identities of things that we love and these groups that we're in and these communities. And then we say, this is who I am. And yes, it is who you are. But if who you are makes you feel empty inside, who are you really? Do you sort of get it? So, like, if who you want to be, if the activities you want to do, if the people you want to be with isn't like aligned with what makes you feel good and happy about yourself, so if you don't come out of it feeling, you know, amazed and happy, well, then what's sort of the point of remaining in those situations? We can remain in those situations all we want, but it's going to do nothing for our mental health, because we're constantly being drained and dragged down and made to feel hollow and empty. So it's sort of like if you've ever worked a job that's just, you don't care about it, you're just there for the money, you know, you've sort of got nothing else for it. Well, what usually happens is, even if your life is amazing, the moment you get to work to the moment you finish is just agony and misery. So if you've ever worked like a retail job, that's a pretty good way to describe it. But you know what I mean? So what's happening is, for a part of your life, you're in misery and agony, and then the outside of it is trying to appease yourself for that. You know, so like drinking, smoking, you know, fast food, junk food, sweet food, all this different stuff, TV shows. So what we got to understand is, the more I align to my truth, and the more I do and follow what I want and what feels good to me in life, the more fulfilled I feel, the less empty I will feel. So if I'm going into a relationship or I'm manifesting an ideal partner and they don't make me feel fulfilled, like, I can continue that relationship, but like the problem with that is I'm going to feel empty and hollow in that relationship. And we've all seen empty and hollow marriages in life. Do you sort of get it? Where it's just, you know, they're there because it's sort of like they got married 25 years ago and they just can't be fucked getting a divorce. Like, they don't want to change it. They just have a, this is my life, this is your life. When we're here, we're this level of appeasement, and, you know, we're nice to each other and all of this. Like, you can have a relationship like that, but that's not going to sort of make your life feel fulfilled. That would make you feel depressed.